Returning now to our top story, the battle for the Democratic nomination for U.S. Senate in Michigan comes to a close in just a few hours. Three-term Congresswoman Haley Stevens is facing Dr. Abdul El-Sayed in a race highlighting a power struggle between establishment and progressive candidates. So far, about $80 million have been spent on the race, making it one of the most expensive in the country. Both candidates have disagreed on many issues, but they agree on the fact that Trump-backed Republican Mike Rogers should not represent Michigan in the Senate.
He's not been campaigning. He's been hiding in his, home in Florida. This is not the deal here.
This is a guy who's like generationally corrupted. We know what he's going to do. He's going to sell off Michiganders to the highest bidder, just like he did when he was in Congress.
CBS News political director Fin Gómez joins us now. So what are you watching for in this race?
Yeah, Lindsay, look, it is brass tacks time. It is the final countdown. And we've been talking about this race, about polls, fundraising endorsements in this critical and bitter primary. But now it comes down to one major factor, and that's turnout, who will show up at the polls. Stevens definitely has the edge on money. El-Sayed has been outspent by 9-1 by our count. And Stevens has received about $60 million in outside spending, a whopping amount. More than half of that came from the pro-Israel AIPAC. In fact, Stevens took a shot at her opponent after voting today, saying he has made this whole race about Israel when she's made it about Michigan. He's really been focused on that issue. But El-Sayed seems to have the momentum in this last stretch before Election Day. But again, it comes down to that critical word, turnout. Some key areas that I will be watching tonight are Wayne County, and that's the county that surrounds, it's Detroit and the surrounding areas like Dearborn. This is one of the biggest sources of Democratic voters in the state. El-Sayed is banking on young voters, progressives coming out in Detroit, and also Dearborn with a large Arab American population. El-Sayed has invested heavily there, and like I mentioned, Israel and Gaza has been really become a defining issue for El-Sayed's campaign. The Senate race in Michigan has been just deluged by so much outside money, and I think that. But again, it comes down to what are the core issues. Affordability is a dominant issue, not just across the country, but in the Wolverine state. And also for Stevens, I'm also watching Oakland County, which is Stevens' political base. It's an affluent, highly suburban, Democratic area that's been central to the party's success over the years. Also, this is a critical voting block here, and that is union voters. Where will they go to? Stevens has talked extensively about manufacturing in Michigan and has been backed by some powerful unions like the AFL-CIO and also the IBW. So can those, famous blue-collar voters of Michigan make the difference here? We'll find out tonight.
Okay, and Fin Gómez, we will lean on your analysis throughout the night and as well tomorrow in analyzing and dissecting the results. Thank you. For more, let's bring in Chuck Rocha and Harry Sullivan. Chuck is a CBS News contributor and Democratic strategist. Harry is a CBS News political contributor and former campaign manager for Marco Rubio's 2016 presidential run. So, Chuck, this has been contentious. Governor Whitmer has called for everybody to take the temperature down. What is making this so feisty?
Look, when the Democrats fight, we fight hard, and I'm ready for this to be over as a Democratic consultant because guess what's coming up in, 91 days, Chris? A general election. And when we're fighting each other, we ain't fighting them. And when we're fighting each other, it's hard for us to win. So I want this to be over. Let's get a winner. Let's keep the energy going. Let's kiss and make up because in November, we keep the eye on the prize to beat the Republicans.
Terry, how is Mike Rogers resonating as a candidate in a state that hasn't had a Republican senator since 2001?
It hasn't, but it's been close. It's in play. President Trump won the state this last time around. It's always in play, and it's going to come down to being able to turn out those swing voters in those collar counties. When Republicans win there, they win in those collar counties around Detroit. And it's interesting, as Finn pointed out, where the base for El-Sayed is in Detroit proper. And so he looks like he's going to win tonight, and that's a problem for them long-term to win the general, because it's those collar counties that is where this real race is going to come down to in the general election.
Chuck, we've got Stevens, who's the centrist. She almost said liberal like it was a bad word in an interview a couple of days ago. She was like, I'm liberal, and by that I mean I'm Michigan first. Then we have El-Sayed, who's progressive, but he's also kind of distancing himself from the Democratic Socialist Party. You know, we heard from a voter who said right now the Democratic brand is a little foggy, that basically the brand is we're not Republican. How does whoever win bring together the party, and how do Democrats contend with this brand issue?
I think you concentrate on it's easy to run against Donald Trump, and it's easy as a Democrat to say, go be against Donald Trump. But as a Democrat and as a strategist, you also have to give your platform forward. And they should concentrate on the things that they agree on. We all dissect the 20 or 30% that they disagree on, but they really agree on like 70 or 80%. And the point that we have to do is get to those collar counties like we were talking about a while ago, because that's going to really be the key. Because in November, the guy that's the Republican, he almost won 2 years ago. But Donald Trump was on the ballot then, and Donald Trump brought a lot of new people there. We have to turn out every one of our voters, because in a midterm election, turnout is key to what Fin Gómez said earlier.
Terry, who do you want to win tonight?
I mean, El-Sayed, he's a whack-a-nut. I mean, like he isn't the most extreme on the socialist side of things. Medicare for all, free college tuition for everyone, like higher taxes, just across the board on every issue. He's extreme left. So far, that when you've got his opponent saying she's a liberal, and she's not liberal enough. And I think he's going to win, because that's where the energy in the Democrat Party is at right now, is with that very liberal, extreme kind of candidate. And so that's why we're seeing him poll 10 to 15 points ahead in the most recent polls. He's very likely to win tonight.
Chuck, a last word to you, because that is something we've been hearing a lot on the right. Whenever you turn on Fox News, they're talking about how Democrats are becoming the socialist party. They're really sort of using this movement and some of these local races as sort of the boogeyman of the left right now. Now, Michigan is going to be a statewide test of that, whether somebody who does identify with further on the left can win a statewide race. But what do you make of sort of this socialism? We've heard it from Trump on the campaign trail a lot, talking about communism. What do you make of that and how it's affecting how people view Democrats?
One of the big criticisms we've had of my party, the Democrats, is there was no energy. We wouldn't fight back. Well, El-Sayed, good, bad, all the indifference, has had 9-to-1 outspent against him, and he's still winning. I can count on one hand the number of people that have been outspent that badly and still won. Again, I take it. It's a Democratic primary. It's not a general electorate, but it's also not a presidential electorate. I will promise you something about my party. I grew up in a trailer house and spent more time in a factory and a farm than I have with this fancy coat on. I'm the Democratic Party. We got to get back to talking to working class guys like me if we're going to have a future for the long term.
Terry, do you want to add anything?
Yeah. Look, it's not Fox News that's calling them socialist or Donald Trump. They are calling themselves socialists, Democrat socialists. That's what El-Sayed is calling himself. That is what lots of Democrats are calling themselves. So for you to say that this is something that just the right is calling them, they're equating it with
communism. They're using it like a bad word.
But I didn't say communism. I said socialist. And so that's what we're talking about, is they're referring to themselves as Democrat. And by the way, I come from a time when communism is a bad word in America. I still think it is today. But socialist is what we're talking about, and they're proud to call themselves socialist. And so that's not something that the right is calling them. That's something they're proud to call themselves as socialists.
Terry Sullivan and Chuck Rocha, thank you.